Welcome to the BeeWyzer interview series today. Today we are going to dive a bit deeper into family, psychological and behavioral issues. And I'm very grateful Dominik von Eynern has joined us today here. Thank you very much. As part of a conference, Nick is a family member himself of an entrepreneurial family in Germany. Which generation? I don't know. Are you?
The family business is now in the fifth generation. I'm the fourth generation.
Fifth generation. And Nick has also started a family office himself and is looking much deeper in academic research into behavioral family issues. So let's look at this in more detail. What is, in your view, what is the difference or the combination of a family and wealth? How do they come together, these two parts of a family system?
So the wealth has been created by human capital, and wealth is created and destroyed by human capital. And this is what we're looking at because there's something we call family effect. And the family effect means how do family dynamics impact the performance of the business? And that can be a huge advantage because you have lower agency costs, you are much quicker, more nimble in decision making. But at the same time, it has negative connotations. It can go all the other way. And that's why we need to understand how family dynamics impact family performance, our family business performance, and what needs to be done to contain risks and use the advantages.
Exactly, the risks, you mentioned those risks, family risks. I think in your presentation earlier you said behavioral risks are the largest part. Is it above 90% or so of family risks? How do they differ and what kind of risks do you have in a family typically?
Well, it's based on a study where they have found that 60% of family breakups and failed wealth transitions from one generation to another are down to communication issues. Then 25% people don't know what to do with wealth. 10% don't have a vision, whatever it might be. These sheer numbers are way more than family breakups and deterioration of family wealth because they have the wrong financial advisors. It is really the biggest risk to a family is the family itself.
That is true. So it's probably the highest risk, the family itself, compared to some financial risks that they run into. Now you say, when we look also in the BeeWyzer Masterclass, we say family constitution is very important, family governance. And I think you agree with it, but you say that the constitution only works if the family values and the family thinking are synchronized, synchronization. Why is that so important? And why do you make a difference between governance, constitution, and synchronization of a family?
That's very interesting because I'm not saying that it is instead or it is something different. It is something we need to combine.
Together, yeah.
And a family constitution is basically principles, rules and regulations, your do's and your don'ts. And these are very linear measures. However, families are not linear machine-like entities. They are organisms. They are self-organizing. They are complex systems. And the way to deal with complex systems, I think, is not through forcing them into a corset called family constitution.
Especially not a patriarchal corset, that's right.
Exactly. Yeah. It is about getting these people together by their own free will and create a commitment culture rather than a compliance culture. And to my mind, this works through synchronization. What do I mean by that?
Yeah.
It is really the neural coupling between brain patterns that influence relational patterns that help to organize a family so the family comes together and to open bandwidth in communication channels, the bandwidth, and reducing the noise or improving the signal to noise ratio. once
it's this
that
widening the channel, it opens up the channel.
Exactly.
That was very clear. So more information comes across and fits with each
and
other.
lands and re-lands.
Actually, yeah.
And when you have organized that synchronization bit, you have a very fertile ground to create a formal governance edifice. Well, let's turn this idea upside down. If you don't have that synchronization and you have this governance edifice and you have this earthquake within the family, and I think family systems are prone to earthquake dynamics, then the earth starts shaking. And what happens with the governance edifice? It collapses. And what would you do when you build a house in an earthquake-prone region? You build a resilient base. And this is what the synchronization
exactly.
does.
Right.
And once you have that resilient base, you create this edifice called formal family governance, family constitution, whatnot.
Great, yeah. So yes, the synchronized base, this similar thinking within the family is a good foundation to kind of go on and constitution-wise. Yeah.
Similar thinking. May I interject here?
Please do.
Because
absolutely.
It's not about
yeah.
having everyone thinking the same thing.
Yes.
It is about synchronization of brain patterns, of opening communication channels, that the family can actually discuss about these things and create a joint social reality, and create a mutual understanding, create social meaning making.
Yeah.
Because we can discuss many things, and then we sign this document, and then we figure out we meant totally different things. Why? Because we weren't synchronized.
Yeah,
this is what I mean with synchronization. So it's not about.
It's a good point you're stressing that. So, I mean, in the BeeWyzer Masterclass, we often say communication is key, and that is the same here. It's the exchange, the open exchange about these issues.
It is the quality of communication, because we communicate words.
Yeah.
They're cognitively processed, but they're not owned.
Yeah.
When we synchronize, we create a deeper meaning, and we create a shared meaning space. And in this meaning space, we can discuss about things that actually then mean also something when we sign these things. And otherwise, because we have it in our family constitution, everyone signed it, no one owns it. Funny that.
And it doesn't work very often.
Well, it has its challenges, and to reduce these challenges, I propose synchronize the system first, which doesn't mean everyone should think and do the same thing as in synchronization, but in coming together, opening the communication channels so that you have a shared meaning space, and then you go more specific. But then it's a very productive approach when you have these channels open. Otherwise, you discuss many things, you sign many things, and no one owns it. Sad thing, huh?
Very clear, thanks. Before we conclude, with your firm, Family Hippocampus, where you offer solutions and ways of solving these issues, one thing you mentioned earlier is creating a family narrative is one way, I think, to create this synchronized status, is it? Or what do you mean by creating a family narrative?
So let me say that Family Hippocampus is not a service provider. We're a think tank. And narratives is one way to synchronize, to start the synchronization journey of a family. So the idea is to create system awareness, to reduce information asymmetry within the family system, and to engage the family, which already turns out to be a thing that has been researched in neuroscience. So when two people in a hyperscan, you look into their brain patterns, they listen to a story or they create a story, then brain patterns already synchronize. And this is what narratives actually do. So, and how to do it? I think it makes sense to understand all the narrative fragments. So it's a data mining exercise. And every family member has bits and pieces and fragments of the family narrative. Some of them are readily available, some of them are suppressed. All are important because they all drive the system. Then you come together in a coherent, to create a coherent story. And from there on, you need an author which creates an engaging story. Why? Because we want the family narrative to be processed in a default mode network, that part of the brain that is engaged when we are idle on the train. And this way it becomes an embodied cognition and emotionally filling, creating this commitment to, yes, I understand what the family is, I want to be part of it, and then when I feel part of it, I put my heart in it. And when you have reached that level, you discuss the family constitution.
Very clear and very good point. Finally, just to conclude, what would you recommend to any next gen that's getting on the journey to create family wealth, to maintain family wealth, to pass it over the generation? How would people, or what would you say, how could people start doing that?
Be mindful of the narrative you are creating for yourself and for your family.
Thank you, Dominik von Eynern. Thank you very much for your contribution here today.
Thank you. Thank you.